Sweet. Tim, can you hear me still?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. All right, folks, so we got Tim from Indiana on the line, and we're crunching some numbers to see when he can hang up the boots. Now, Tim and I have already been chatting for at least an hour, so you weren't privy to that. We cleaned up some of the software in here, and anytime I'm using the right capital with clients, it always takes time to clean it up. And the reason is because you've never used it. I've used it for 6 years now. So I had a lady email me just the other day. And I said, don't be afraid to just click on through. Click, click, click. You can't break it. But it is a lot of stuff in the software. It can be intimidating. The drawback that we found with Tim is when he linked his mortgage account, it double billed him. He was showing 2 mortgages. I was like, man, Tim, what's going on here? And it made it look tough for him to want to retire. Let's just put it this way. We're like, I'm not sure you're gonna be able to do it. So we cleaned it up and we recognized, for some reason it was linking twice to his mortgage, charging him twice the amount, which isn't good. So Tim, thanks for being here, man. This is again, I really appreciate it. People get a lot of wonderful stuff out of this, these kind of live tutorials, if you will. So I really appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on, and thanks for helping straighten this out. I enjoy your videos, and I hope this helps people.
Now, and you're in Indiana, so you're a native?
I am a Buckeye, I must admit, but I have been a Hoosier for the last 30 plus years.
Are you all going to leave, or are you going to stay in the great state of Indiana?
Oh, we'll stay here. We're here.
All right, right on. And just side note, guys, Tim has 3 kids, and let's just put it this way: there's the only other place he would move would be a place he doesn't want to move to be near one of his kids, because no one wants to. I'm going to say the state, but no one wants to move that state of insanity. So Tim's like, we're stuck in India. You think he'll be in the same house, Tim, by chance?
If we can, yeah, I would love to.
All right, gotcha. Right, this is where you raise your kids and all that, the memories and whatnot.
Yes,
All
yes.
Right, good. All right, sweet. And all right, so we're gonna just dive into this. So, guys, what we, Tim already knows what I'm talking about. But what we did here is Tim had on his expenses, and which is good. He had a couple of things in here for travel and one for charitable giving. And so what I did is I'd like to actually go into goals and create his own unique box here for travel in particularly. And the reason for travel vacation goals, because you're probably not going to be traveling when you're in your late 80s. Now, you might be, I grant you, there's always an exception, but the likelihood of your traveling being the same amount of money in your late 80s, mid 80s as it is when you're in your early 60s, probably not so high. So I like to use a separate line item for travel goal. And in this case, Tim and I just said, 15 years or whatever. I mean, it's completely subjective, I grant you, but we don't want to bill Tim as if he's going to travel when he's 89 years old. And so, because he probably won't. And secondly, Tim, we have charitable giving here. I also like to create its own separate box for charitable giving, just because if it does allow for deductions, if his charitable giving plus his property tax and any homeowner's insurance, mortgage interest, we didn't have much. If that were to be above the standard deduction, the software will create the itemized deductions as opposed to automatically using the standard deduction, as long as there's a separate box for charitable giving. And so Tim is pretty close to tithing here, and we want to keep that up. And when he retires, that $600 a month, that $7,200 is going to be almost more than a traditional 10% tithe. And so we want to have that as the ability to be deducted on the 1040, which Right Capital will do for us, by the way, which is pretty cool. And we're going to do that till both he and his better half die. And we're using a 90 years old, guys, by default for Tim and Mary to die at 90. Some of the background history would suggest maybe more on Mary's side than Tim's, but we don't know, man. And unless Tim's he's not, you can't see him. I looked at him. He doesn't smoke a carton of Cools. He's not 100,000 pounds overweight. He's not about to keel over anytime soon. So 90 seems to be a good default. And he's only were you 62 right now? How old are you right now, Tim? 62?
Yeah, 62.
Yeah, so that's 28 years ahead of us, which seems reasonable to me. Anyway, and so then we went and we looked at his income, and he's making money, and the idea would be for him to stop, if he can, at the end of 2024. Mary's working part-time, and she'll stop at the same time. At the end of, basically, we'll have Mary work her last full month of work will be November 2023, just because it's simple to do like this. The last full month of Tim's will be December 2024, and then his first year of retirement, his first month of retirement will be January 2024. We talked about healthcare already, so we already kind of went into how Medicare works with Tim. So pre-Medicare, we're thinking about $12,000 a year. $1,000 a month is what Tim will pay for health insurance, be it through the exchange or MediShare or something like that. Might be some finagling we can do with this. We'll come back to this later. But then once he's on Medicare, it's the same cost. It's $500 a month for him, $500 a month for Mary for Part B, Part D, and both would be Medicare supplemental policies as well. And as I was telling Tim before, I said you can always. Tim, are you up against it? Are you still?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks, man. I just want to make sure we're.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's all right. When it comes to Medicare, as I was telling Tim beforehand, it's like, man, don't go this alone, guys. Contact a professional. I like J.O. up in Michigan. Now he is if Tim's a Buckeye, he and Jay might be like cats and dogs, but J.O. He had written the book Maximize Your Medicare, and this is what he does. He does Medicare stuff, and I'm a big fan of Jay. I call him a friend. And then Danielle Roberts down in Texas. And all these guys are licensed in the vast majority of states. She's with boomerbenefits.com. So when it comes to Medicare, supplemental, Medicare Advantage, man, don't do it on your own. It's insane. Just hire somebody to do that stuff for you. All right. So what we've done then is because the most important part of financial planning is your expenses. And we just basically extrapolated as $3,000 a month for his day-to-day living expense. Basic miscellaneous, got the cable bill, all that up here. You got your groceries and just some basic stuff, entertainment, to go see the Colts lose. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know.
Because of that ex-Falcons quarterback, I guess.
Yeah, is that right? Matt Ryan. I know. I feel bad for Matt because he had that big. I'm a Pats fan, so Matt Ryan had.
That's even worse. So,
yeah. But remember the Colts lost to. They had a huge lead this last year, and they lost. I don't know if you. That was Matt Ryan, who's the quarterback for that too, man. The two worst comebacks in history. Matt Ryan was on the wrong side of both, and so.
Oh my gosh, that's right. That's painful, but.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have our championship game against Brady and Belichick that we can look back on.
Well, never forget, man. Freaking the Patriots win 14-0 against the Colts in the AFC Championship, and I think it was like 21-3 at one point, and it looked like it was going to the half. And then I think the Colts it's like the mid 2000s, and the Colts got a touchdown. It was like 21-10 to go in the half, and I'm like, all right, we got this. But I'll never forget. There was like the Pats had the ball to start the second half, and they're driving. And then there's a holding call, and they were going into the Colts territory, and they got called for holding, and after that, the Colts just won. And the Pats actually came back to tie it up, if memory serves. Like
right, yeah,
you know
that's the 2006, 2005 championship game. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I remember though, I was like that freaking holding. I'll never, because we were driving the ball, we're already up like 21-10 or something like that, and then still kills me to this day. Freaking.
And your open receiver that Brady never saw wasn't even covered. You remember that?
Yep. Oh man, I forget. It's funny you said that because I remember one time I was watching the Pats in the AFC Championship against Denver. Maybe it was even a playoff game. I think it was a championship. And Brady had Danny Amendola down on the left, just going in his flag route, and he couldn't hit him. And I said, "That's it. Brady's over. He's done." I'll never forget it. I said Brady would hit that 100 times out of 100. He just couldn't get the ball to him. And then the Patriots went on to win 3 Super Bowls after that. That's like that guy doesn't bleed. I'm telling you, man, there's no way that guy took something in 2020 to immunize himself. No way, no how did Brady say, "Yeah, go ahead and shoot that in me there, Fauci." No way. But
all right, enough about the Patriots.
Yeah, right on, man. I tell you. Hey. All right, so back to stick to the issues, Josh. No one wants to talk about sports. Let's not talk about Andrew Luck. All right, so where was we? So what we want to do, the number one thing is expenses. This is your day-to-day living expenses, folks. Just like I was telling Tim, to maintain your home. This is the cost for health insurance, and that's about $500 a month per beneficiary on Medicare. And we're assuming $500 a month per person on Obamacare. We'll dive in that here a little bit different here in a second. We got vacation goal at $500 a month, and then we got charitable giving at $600 a month. That does not include his homeowner's insurance right here and his property tax or any basic maintenance. That's a different line item. So what we want to do is we don't want to double bill people and say, I spend about $6,000 a month, and that includes other things that we have someplace else. We want to make sure we really, narrow these things that they have their own separate line item. Now, Tim does have a little bit of debt, nothing extraordinary. He's got about $10,000 in RV loan. He's paying $150 a month for. The big one's the student loans, and as Tim was saying off camera, is that his kids, if they could have done it differently, they wouldn't have gone to school. And I said, man, kudos to them for recognizing that. But water on the bridge now because we got a debt of $74,000, and there's no getting around that. It's got to be paid, because if you don't pay your student loans and Sniffy Joe doesn't waive them, that can't be written off in bankruptcy. So that has to be paid. It stinks, but be that as it may, it is there. So, and then Tim's got a small mortgage, about $77,000. He's paying about $1,750 a month. And so his house is worth $500,000. So he's got tons of equity in his house, 430 or 423, tons of equity, tons. All right. And they're not planning on moving, Tim. Like you said, you'll probably stay there for the duration, most likely.
Yep. As long as I can navigate stairs.
Right on, man. Right on. Gotcha. All right. So now let's talk about investments. So one thing, and Tim, for your 401k, how is that invested right now? Like stocks, bonds to cash ratio. Give me a ballpark, if you would.
I think it's it's still on the stock side, like maybe 60, 40.
Yeah, perfect. No, right on. That's perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. So we're going to say a moderate portfolio, 60-40, and we're just going to use a customized breakdown in terms of international stocks, small caps. Frankly, it doesn't matter that much, but no, that's good. On your rollover IRA, same thing?
Yes. And some of these I have like in these, index targeted year indexes or whatever.
In fact,
like
that's 100%.
2030 or whatever. Yeah, I think
that's exactly this right here is exactly what a 2030 target fund would be primarily. So, Fidelity might be a little bit different than Vanguard, but they're all pretty close to the same, roughly 60-40. They'll have some international, they'll have some real estate. So, it's a well-diversified portfolio that I like, as long as the fees aren't killing you, but and they're not. So that's good stuff. And then you got small HSA. So we'll just leave that be. But anyway, so you got about 615, 617 in Tim's portfolio, a 60-40 stock to bond. And you can see right here, we're giving him about a 5.3% rate of return with a 10.2% standard deviation. And so, Tim, what that means is on any given year, we would expect your portfolio to give you no higher a rate of return than 35% and no lower a rate of return than -25. All right. So in any given year, you can be down a quarter of your portfolio in this in the methodology I'm using for the Monte Carlo, which will go in here in just a second. So there is some downside risk here. We're looking at similar to 2008 on the downside risk, which was worse than the worst market we've ever had when you factor in inflation. 2008 was the worst market we've ever had. And so we're giving you similar downside risk to 2008. However, I'm giving you well below historical norms for average rates of return. All right. So I want to say pessimistic. We'll say cautiously pessimistic in that regard.
Gotcha.
Now, this target allocation has nothing to do with you. If we want to get more returns, we can go all stocks, and you can see we go from 5.3% to 6%. But we're increasing our downside risk by 70%. And I just want people to know that ain't no free lunch in this stuff, man. If we want to get more returns, we're going to take more risk. Now, check this out, though. If we go to all bonds, because this is where the interest rates, where Jerome Powell is our man, he has raised the interest rates such that we can get about 4% in a pretty conservative bond portfolio nowadays. 4% without a whole lot of downside risk. Now, the downside risk of 2022 did happen. I fully don't anticipate anything like that to ever happen again. I absolutely could be wrong, but 2022 was the worst bond market ever. No man or woman walking on the face of this earth had ever seen a bond market like 2022. It's nuts. In theory, it could happen again. If it were to happen again, the interest rates would have to go from basically 4 to 20 and that's just not going to happen. So, I mean, I guess it could. But anyway, so the point being is I like to say, I don't think people recognize the value in bonds now and cash. It wasn't like that a year ago, Tim. So now we're getting paid decently to have some pretty safe stuff, unlike what it was before. So I'm, hey, good on you, Jerome Powell. We'll talk about this here in more detail in just a second in terms of the best way to manipulate as you kind of thinking about hanging up the boots. But I just want to point out 60-40 portfolio is pretty good. It's going to be tough to beat that. You certainly don't want to go more risky right now. That makes sense?
Totally does. Yep.
We do not want a 2008. That's all there is to it. I might actually be inclined to say, let's ramp this back a little bit, which I probably will, but we'll talk about that in just a second. All right, so let's keep. And if I'm yapping, if I'm not making sense, just tell me pipe down. It's a lot's going on here. We want to make sure this works. So we got a net worth of about 973 when you factor in Tim's equity and his investments. Not too shabby. We already talked about both are going to live till they're 90. Oh, who do you got your homeowners and auto with, Tim?
Safeco.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Safeco on both homeowners and auto.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, just for a side note, when you get a chance, we really want to make sure on our auto insurance that we have. I'm going to just kind of put this in for you to reflect back on. We want 100, and you don't have to know this off the top of your head. I bet you wouldn't anyway, and that's okay. 100, 300, and 500 on our auto insurance coverages. I worked for many years at USA, which is a insurance company, and it was drilled in me, and with personal experience, having seen people underinsured really have to pay a lot of out-of-pocket expenses. So for auto insurance 135, we want 100,000 of property damage. That means if, like, I saw an accident on Saturday, literally I saw it right in front of me. It's crazy. Luckily, everybody's safe, but the dad whose daughter was driving the car who caused the accident, he would be held accountable for any property damage that went above his liability coverage on his auto insurance. And thankfully, the daughter didn't sideswipe a freaking brand spanking Mercedes or something like that, but that could be on them if they didn't have enough liability coverage. That kind of makes sense. You follow that?
Yep. Yeah.
Bodily injury is 300,000 per person, so that the dad's insurance is going to have to cover the injuries that the old man who took the brunt of the damage sustained, and there will be some. I mean, the adrenaline was kicking in, so he seemed like he was okay, but I guarantee he woke up yesterday. I bet he was in a world of hurt. So 300,000 per person and 500,000 max per accident. So we definitely want to make sure we got adequate insurance coverage, because that is a risk, man, without question. We don't want the general insurance with a minimal. For homeowners insurance, we always want to make sure. I say always. I shouldn't say that. We want to make sure it doesn't really give us what we want to make sure it's replacement coverage. That just means if your house gets burnt down or something like that, or a tornado goes through, it will be replaced. It won't be assessed on how much they're going to replace. It will be replaced as is. In day and age now that a lot of times the assessments are lower than the actual cost to build a home because of labor costs, and last year's because of lumber costs. We definitely want to make sure we have at least replacement coverage if your house gets knocked down for some reason. Okay.
Sounds good.
And all this is obviously recording this so people can, and you can revert back to that as well. But I'm not an insurance expert, but that's what we want right there for sure. So have a conversation with those guys later on. All right, so now we're going to jump into estate planning, just while I'm thinking about it. Do we have a will or anything drawn up at this point, Tim?
Yes.
All right,
for
so
both of us. Yep.
We got a will. When was that drawn up?
Just recently.
Sweet.
As a result of watching some of your videos, actually.
Cool. Do we have powers of attorney? I assume we do.
Yes.
Are they durable? Does that mean anything to you?
I think so. Yeah. I was able to use through my company like a software that generated all that for us. I think it is.
Double check when you get a chance. And this would be where Mary would want to light a fire under your butt, because this money, your 401k and your IRA, notice you're the owner. She's not. Now, assume she's a beneficiary, I presume, right?
Yes.
Right, so imagine you die, goes to Mary, die, goes to the kids, equals to, even Steven, I imagine, right?
Oh, actually, you're right. That's through Fidelity. I have to get the durable power of attorney to give her control over it, correct? I'm still working on that. Yep.
100%. You're hitting on the head. Right on, man. So just for the audience here, Mary does not own this money. Tim owns the money. Tim names Mary as the beneficiary, and that's great. If Tim dies, then Mary gets it. No muss, no fuss. But if Tim's incapacitated with a stroke or something like that, Mary has no legal rights to this money unless she gets a court order. Yeah, and that's fun. Good luck getting a court order. And Mary goes down to court and say, "My husband's sick. I need access to his money." The judge isn't going to be too keen on saying, "Hey, here you go, no problem. Here's some candy. Just go ahead. Give it away like candy." It doesn't work like that. So a durable power of attorney is a power of attorney that survives incapacity, guys. A general power of attorney stops at incapacity. All right. Now, how is incapacity declared? Well, if a durable power of attorney, if it's written up in such a way that says this durable power of attorney only takes an effect upon the declaration of Tim's having a debilitating illness of some sort, a stroke, dementia, something like that. Well, then a doctor has to validate that Tim's ill. Well, Tim, how long have y'all been married? A couple of years, I bet.
Yeah, coming up on 40.
Right. So I have a sneaky suspicion that Tim's not all that worried about Mary, taking off of his money and going to Mexico, the pool boy. So, like my wife, if she's my literally, I don't know where she is right now. In theory, she could be, with my money, which I don't have a whole lot of, but she could be, going to Mexico with the pool boy because she's my durable power of attorney, an agent in fact, or an attorney in fact, however you want to call it. And so, what we want to make sure is, assuming that you guys are, good to go, Tim, in relationship, we want to make sure that Mary is assigned the ability to act on your behalf right now without any doctor's note, any lawyer getting involved, any judge. You're saying, Mary, my money's your money's mine. Whatever happens, happens. You have access to it without any kind of hardship that you have to jump through. And so that's where the durable power of attorney kicks in. Like you said, with Fidelity, and Denise had done a yeoman's work for me when it came to Vanguard. Denise from North Carolina. There's a letter of authorization, I think is what she called it at Vanguard. And I'm sure the same thing, Tim, at Fidelity. There's some kind of limited power of attorney, limited letter of authorization that says, hey, I name Mary as my agent in fact to transact all my business at Fidelity or something like that. So,
yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the form right now.
Oh, sweet. Good. Now, just while I'm yapping here, because again, this is for the general population. A living will is a right to die clause, guys. It's just when to pull the plug. And we remember the Terry Schiavo case in Florida. Remember that, Tim, like 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
We want to avoid that. And a living will is how you avoid that. All right. So he's just saying when to pull the plug. Fauci's got his beagles in tow. And he's like, I heard, Josh, that you're incapacitated. I would like to experiment on you after I experiment on my beagles. Yeah, we want to pull the plug before Fauci gets involved in my affairs. Healthcare proxy is pretty simple stuff. Just, hey, when I had my shoulder surgery, my wife, told the doc to, slice me and dice me, and that's just what proxy is. Beneficiary designations. We basically, I leave everything to Charlotte. Tim leaves everything to Mary. At Mary's death, it goes to the kids, even Stephen, or however you want to do it. That's pretty simple stuff. A lot of people ask about a living trust. I don't want to get in that here just because I'm not an attorney. I don't practice law, but I will tell you guys, and for you too, Tim, a lot of people think a living trust stops taxation. No, it does not. A living trust does not stop estate tax. It does not stop income tax. And always remember, a living trust is called revocable. Well, a living trust becomes irrevocable at death of the grantor. I always say this because people have these trusts from 30 years ago when their kids were still in diapers. Like, oh, if you died today, it's going to be a nightmare unwinding that trust. Remember, a living trust is revocable by the grantor. That'd be Tim in this case. Nothing wrong with that, other than the fact that when Tim dies, that trust is no longer revocable. It's irrevocable unless a court order changes that. And we want to try to avoid that if we can. So, Tim, I'll leave it up to you and your attorneys, whether or not you need a living trust. I don't have one. I don't see a huge need, but that's just between me and the big guy upstairs. So I'll let you chomp on that.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. I'm going to think about that.
Cannot be perceived as giving legal advice, that's for sure. But, and I don't want to say I'm negative on living trust. I mean, I have 2 books on living trust back there, which I've read, which really made me aware of how these work. But seems to me that some people have this misconception of what living trusts do, and they just don't do what I think a lot of people think they do. All right, any questions on the estate planning stuff here, Tim? Sounds like you got a pretty good gauge of what you know you need to do, but any thoughts, comments, questions jump out at you here, sir?
Nope, all good.
All right, so let's hit the fun stuff now. So now we're going to see if Tim can retire at 60. I forgot what we had, 64. All right, so now we're looking pretty good. So Tim, I want to this is interesting because this is different than what it was before. Remember before we had like 58%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
it's still set for 63, right? I think that's what we were talking about. Yeah, okay,
right there. Good. So the reason it had Tim at 58% before was two things. One was that we had Tim double paying his mortgage. Basically, it cost him an extra $1,700 a month, which was not true. But another thing, guys, and so check this out, Tim. We're gonna go to profile, and we're gonna come down here, and we're gonna pretend like your investments are not as a 60-40, but we're gonna make them customized right there. Watch what happens here. I cannot stress this enough, folks. Understand your portfolio and understand the downside risk. All right. So check this out. Tim, this is what we had in there before. We had your portfolio. Basically, we had as other. And we were only giving you a 5% rate of return, but we had a 16.1% standard deviation, which meant we were giving you a lower rate of return than we're giving you now, with a 50% higher volatility, downside risk, essentially, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when we said, no, that's not the way we are, we're basically a moderate portfolio, we've reduced the downside risk by 60%, from 16% to 10%, because the bonds that you have in your portfolio. Before, we're just saying you just had basically a hodgepodge of stuff that we had no clue what it was, and as such, we're giving you very significant downside risk mechanism here. That wasn't true. So now we go over to retirement. Watch this. Watch the change here. It goes back to 73%. Now we had 58% because we had double billing you twice on your mortgage. We got rid of the mortgage, the second mortgage, because that was fake, and then it went up to 73% solely because of the portfolio, the downside risk. So if we change this to what it is, which is a moderate portfolio, watch the difference between the proposed and current plan. Watch what happens here. I cannot stress this enough, folks, that by reducing the downside risk by 16 to 10, and again, we still have a pretty significant downside risk even with your current plan, well, the proposed plan in this case, but with a 10% standard deviation, we still have a potential for a 25% downside risk on any given year. But look at the difference by having a 16% standard deviation versus a 10% standard deviation. A 16% standard deviation means on any given year, you could, and with a 5% average rate of return, you could be down 43%, 43%. 2008, we're down 37%. This is where I cannot stress this anything more. We got to protect the downside as we slide into retirement. I cannot stress this enough. And if we're not protecting the downside because, we think stocks in the long run and, bonds are going to get crushed because they'll keep raising interest rates. I get that a year ago. Those days are over, man. I mean, we were getting the 10-year treasury like a year and a half ago was paying like 1.5. I'm looking at my phone. Hold on just a second, Tim. I'm just going on a diatribe here, so hang tight. The 10-year treasury last was November 2021 was paying 1.4. Now it's paying 3.7. So it's that's almost a tripling of the 10-year treasury. The yield. Right. And that's why we got hit so much in the bonds in 2022. But guess what? Now we're getting 4% and 5% on government debt. The government debt is never going to be paid back. It'll never be paid back. So people can say all day long, but Josh, the government bonds, I get it, but it's never going to be paid back. But what are you going to do? Go to stocks? I mean, if the government can't pay its bills, the stock market is not going to do anything. That's for doggone sure. Anyway, this kind of makes sense. The difference here, Tim, in terms of the standard deviation, the volatility.
Yep. Yeah, I've never heard it explained that way. It's really good.
I just wish people understood. I'm like, man, don't strive for a portfolio of high returns while you're going to retirement. What we got to do is strive for a portfolio of lower volatility. So we're going to make this back. I don't think. People get so sucked into the stocks for the long run thing, like stocks. Like, look, I get it, but that's not the issue anymore. You're 62 years old. We got to protect the downside. We got to build a moat. All right. So if we go over here to retirement, so check this out. All right. So we got Tim taking Social Security at 67. I just want to kind of look over cash flows here real quick, Tim. I just want to. All right. So here's our first year in retirement. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
We got no money coming in. We got expenses of $80,000 a year right there, which consists of your $3,000 a month day-to-day living expense. This is your housing, your mortgage, property tax, homeowners insurance, and your maintenance. So it's costing you basically, $2,400 a month when all said and done to maintain your home. Notice that your mortgage goes away at this stage, and then you still got a cost to maintain your home, for heaven's sake. You see what I'm saying? You still got a cost for that. Your homeowner's insurance, you got to pay your property tax, whatnot.
Yep, sure.
Now we got the debt. This will be your student loans kicking in. And I got them starting in 2025. They really started in 2024. It doesn't matter much, the specifics, I guess that, but we have you paying student loans for basically another 20 years or so at $750 a pop. That might not quite be, because I don't know the exact amount of your student loan debts and all that, interest rates, and if Sniffy Joe's going to waive them, I don't know. But that still says, look, you're paying $750 a month on student loan debt until they're paid off, and that's not a chump change, man. And then we got your health care at $12,000. All right, so your day-to-day living, housing cost, your debts, your student loan debts, and then your health care. And by the way, your RV loan is going to be paid off. I think we're having that paid off here. When did we have that guy paid off? Hold on just a second. We got this guy right here. When was that? Yeah, 2020. Wasn't sure where that was. Anyway, that's going to be paid off. Hold on just a second. Who was that? And cash flow. Go cash flows. That part of the 750. Expenses. Vacation gift. That's your charitable giving. All right, looks good. Well, they got the RV going in there. Got debt right there. Not sure why they don't have the RV loan. It's weird. All right, we'll add that manually. We'll come back to that here in just a second. But either way, so we got you spending about $80,000 a year for your housing costs. That's your mortgage, your health care, property tax, homeowners insurance, day-to-day living expense, all that. Does that seem?
Yeah, that seems about right.
Then we got your goals here at $13,000, which is your travel and your charitable giving. It seems reasonable to me. So we got you spending about, with your RV loan, about $100,000 a year right there. Make sense?
Yep.
Gotcha. And we got you spending the same 150, because now we got to start paying some income tax, because you got to take. So right here, we got between these two numbers right here, we need about 103,000 or so of income. Well, the only place we're going to get that is from your 401k or IRA. So you're going to have to take out 115,000 in which to get 105,000 roughly of income, because you're going to have to pay tax on that money. All right. So for the next couple of years, you're basically taking 100,000 a year for the next 4 years until Social Security kicks in. And we'll talk about Social Security here in just a second. But so you see what I'm talking about here? We're paying.
Yep.
The money's got to come from someplace. The only place it's going to come from is either Social Security or your portfolio, or a combination thereof. All right. Now, again, I'm only giving you a 5.3% rate of return, but if we look at what your portfolio could grow to, now this is a little bit, we're going to look at your Social Security, your accounts. We're taking out withdrawals from our accounts. We're basically taking that $100,000 a year from your portfolio each and every year. All right, until Social Security kicks in. If we look at your ending balance, your portfolio would be down to about $400,000 by the time you guys are fully on Social Security. And that's assuming you get a 5.3% rate of return each and every year without any volatility. There's two different ways of looking at it. One is a Monte Carlo, which gave us 91%. This right here is not a Monte Carlo. It's just assuming you get 5% a year as a straight investment.
Sure.
That's not going to happen, but it might actually if we look at bonds. But anyway, be that as it may. So what's happening is when you're ready to take Social Security, your portfolio will be worth $400,000. You with me on that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So check this out though, $400,000. Once you're on Social, I'm going to go back here. Once we're on Social Security, we go to cash flows right there. We're going to need about 20,000. Well, really, here your first full year of Social Security, we're going to need about 16,000 from your portfolio. 16,000 from a portfolio that's worth about $400,000. That's a 4% distribution rate. 4% rule. I mean, I didn't plan that. It comes in nice. So,
wow. Yeah.
Look at that. 16,000, 16,000, 16,000, 17,000 because inflation for healthcare. I'm only inflating Social Security by 2.4% a year, by the way, just FYI. So for every dollar increase in Social Security, it's costing you $2.50 increase in Medicare. Just keep that in mind. But we're basically taking a 4% distribution rate out of our portfolio once you're on Social Security. And you can do that to your blue in the face, man. It's no big deal. Whoa, wait a second. Wait a second, Tim. What is happening here? What happened to our taxes? You want to take where are they going? What is going on there? How do we have no taxes? I thought we were all going to get killed in taxes. Here you are, 2032, $80,000 of Social Security, $17,000 of RMDs or whatever, doesn't matter. But we got our income is $97,000 in 2032. 17,000 of that 80,000 Social Security is subject to taxation, Tim. I mean, that means freaking 80% of your Social Security is tax-free. Tell me that's not nuts.
Wow.
You got 17,000 of taxable Social Security plus 17,000, roughly 18,000 of IRA distributions. Your total AGI is, then you got a little bit, I'm not sure what the adjustment is, whatever. It's about $35,000 is your AGI. You take your standard deduction of 26,000. Oh, you got some, that's what it is. You're going to have some, you might have some, I don't know. I don't think you're going to have itemizations. You got 26,000. I don't think you're going to. You're going to have a standard deduction of 26,000. Plus you're going to have, and come 2026, this line item of 13 won't be QBI. It'll be go back to personal exemptions. So what happens here is you got what's happening right now in the Trump tax bill. We got rid of personal exemptions. And so there is no personal exemptions as a deductible expense on our 1040. Once the Trump tax bill goes away, that personal exemption comes back. So we add our standard deduction to our personal exemptions. Our total deductible amount off this, your right here, you have 37,790 of deductions, and your total income, your AGI is only $35,000. Your taxable income, Tim, is a big fat goose egg. Look at that, nothing.
Wow.
Tell me that's not crazy. It's like the best thing since sliced bread. If we go to 2027, because we're not on Social Security yet, I mean, a little bit, not much, but still, this is not your first full year. All of your money has got to come from your IRA, which is pre-tax. So we have $85,000 of IRA money, $11,000 of Social Security, because this is our first year of taking any benefit whatsoever. Our total income here is about 97,000. Again, when you factor in your total Social Security, so we're living off about $97,000. We got a standard deduction here of 19,000. Again, personal exemption, $9,000. So we're able to write off about $28,000 of our total income, but we have taxable income of $63,000. All right, so even there, we're only paying $8,000 in tax on almost $100,000 of income. It's crazy. Crazy awesome. And you check this out. Look at this. There's no taxes. That's the widow's tax trap right here. So I think we got married down before you because I think she's just a wee bit younger. But so that'd be a widower's tax trap. I mean, that's no big deal. I mean, you're still well under 10% effective tax rate. You see what's happening here, right? I mean,
yeah, this is Yep. This makes sense.
So the only drawback is we got to pay the tax on the front end while we're on Obamacare. So unfortunately for you, there's no methodology for me to finagle the numbers so that way you can get Obamacare on the cheap with massive amounts of premium credits, because the only income you have is in your retirement accounts. And we definitely don't want to take Social Security early. No way, no how, man. Because I mean, look at this. The more you can build your Social Security, the less taxes you have to pay. Yeah, no way to take Social Security early. I'd take maybe Mary. I don't think I would, even her. Let me just look at something real quick. If we take Mary taking Social Security, I don't think I'd do this, but let me just show you 62 just for giggles here. If you took Social Security at 60, look at that, Tim.
Whoa.
But Social Security is a scam. It's not going to be there. Yeah, whatever. Crazy. What if you took it your full retirement age, 67, and Mary took it early? We'll say at 64. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Yeah. We don't want Mary to reduce. So what's happening is Mary won't get your or her spousal benefit based on your record until you file.
I see. Yeah.
We don't want you to file early, Tim, because your retirement plan is kind of contingent on Social Security being there, as is everybody else, as mine will be. And so I don't want Mary to file early and get a very minimal benefit based on her minimal income, because that will permanently reduce her spousal benefit once you do file. Just don't do that. So what you should do is when Mary hits 67, she should go ahead and file for her Social Security. She'll get a little bit of a benefit on her own record. Let me show what I'm talking about here. But then you would file at 67 and you'll give Mary a pretty significant increase in her benefit. So we look at income. We go to Social Security. So here's Mary filing early, and you can see she's going to get $8,400 a year. Here you're filing, and now Mary's going to get a bump. She has a spousal benefit on top of your on her benefit. Is that going to make sense by chance?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I've been looking at that a little bit. So yeah, thanks for that.
But if we go to the current plan, you'll notice that her spousal benefit will be more than 18,000. It's going to be 22,000, just by waiting until her full retirement age to file. And so that extra $4,000 might not seem like much, but that covers Medicare. That covers a lot of money. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever for Mary to file it early and have reduced. She'll get a couple extra $1,000 in the interim. I grant you, she will get this money right here. Basically, for simplicity, $9,000 a year. That's $36,000. But then it's permanently reduced the rest of her life while you're alive. And we just don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Now, if we kill you off early, let's just go kill you off at 85. Another reason you definitely don't want to take Social Security earlier either is because you want to leave Mary with the biggest benefits possible. And if you filed early, you're going to leave her with a lower benefit. So if you have you down at 85 here, I'm going to show you the Social Security. I know I'm kind of flying through this, but I just want to point out. So here we have you down. So you'll see, just have right there. There we go. All right, so you see here you file. Mary gets that bump of $10,000 a year. So now you die. Mary, she still retains her own benefit, but then she gets whatever you were making. So between your benefit was roughly 74,000, factoring a 2.4% inflation, your benefit would have been 76,000, which is what Mary will get. She'll still keep her own, but she'll get a bump up to equal what you would have received, if that makes sense.
Yep, I see. Yeah.
So everyone says, well, why does it say that? And why does it say this? Well, because Mary has 3 different benefits. She has her own benefit. She has her spousal benefit, which has half of yours, but she retains her own benefit. She just has an add-on called spousal benefit. And then when you die, she gets a survivor benefit instead of a spousal benefit. And that's kind of how that works. So if that makes sense, you definitely want to take Social Security at 67 for both y'all, without question. That's
definitely the plan.
Now, if you do die off early, she only has a 79% probability of success. Dude, if we're above 75%, we're fine. And the reason I like to have above 75% is because, remember, there is this thing called common sense where people can tighten the belt if they need. So if we are down 25% in any given year, maybe don't take that trip that year. You know what I'm saying? Just common sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And she's still leaving on a median 311,000 to the kiddos. And if you both die at 90, you're leaving to the kids 478,000. Oh, and that doesn't even include right here, net worth. This big fat house, another $500,000 that someone's getting. Now, if Mary needs it for long-term care, well, they're not going to get it maybe, but this number right here doesn't include your real estate, Tim. It's just liquid assets. Crazy. Nuts. All right. Thoughts, I'm not done yet, but let me just pause for a second, catch my breath. Any thoughts or questions or comments you have on your point of view at this stage?
No, this looks great. This represents to me kind of like, in a sense, like worst case, because I do plan to work part-time till I'm 67. And so this would just help me understand, like, if, you know, if I couldn't work or wasn't working or something.
Yeah, even if you work part-time, we'll add a separate source of income here. We'll just say, you know, Tim's part-time income, and maybe, you know, build a house or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or remodeling. We'll say $20,000 a year, just for simplicity. And we'll call it. We'll say it starts when you retire, and we'll do it until you're Tim's. You know, we'll say 60 until you file for Social Security, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, but watch what happens here. The extra $20,000 of income. That also means an extra $20,000 less than you have to pull from your portfolio, which also means the extra $20,000 less you have to pull from your portfolio, in which you got to pay tax on that $20,000 as well. So even just making an extra $20,000, doing what you're going to do, I mean, the numbers, man. It is what it is, and I mean, there's just no
beautiful. Yeah, no, it looks great.
We can think of beauty. The only drawback I see for you, the only drawback is that you're not going to be able to qualify for significant. You might be able to qualify for some Obamacare premium credits. You're not going to qualify for much because you're going to have to pull money from your IRA, and that money will go to the 1040, which means it's probably going to jump above the threshold where you get any kind of significant Obamacare tax credits if you do go to Obamacare. Oh well, you know what I'm saying? That's not the worst thing that ever happened. It's, you know, so again, I think, you know, we were on MediShare. I liked MediShare for a while. We were on it, and I had 4 kids while we're on it. When my wife, the drawback with MediShare was we're concerned. One of my kids has a pre-existing heart illness, and we weren't quite sure if MediShare would cover it or not. And you know, they kind of said they would, but I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. So we went back on private healthcare when Charlotte got her job. But MediShare is great. If you're on MediShare, it's going to be cheaper than what I'm showing you here for sure. But if you do go on Obamacare, yeah, probably looking at about $1,000 a month between you and old Mary there.
Okay.
Healthcare. But here's what I do real quick. What I would do right now, I'm just going to be crazy things. This is nuts. If you're going to hang up the boots, I would actually like your portfolio to be a little bit less aggressive. I'd like to downshift this one. And, you know, I don't know what, so I assume once you hang up the boots, you'll just roll everything into a Fidelity 401k. I mean, it's a Fidelity rollover IRAs. That's
yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
I would like $200,000 in the Fidelity money market right now. Now, I can't tell you what to do. I can't say how to invest, but man, check this out. If you like, I'm not sure I can show it to you. The SPAX, SPAXX is paying 4.75 right now. Why do I say $200,000? Simply, watch this. That will cover you if we go to cash flows. Even if you have a part-time job, watch what happens. How long that 200? Oh, that's going to cover you for about 2.5 years of cash flow. Remember, I always say by barbell strategy, 4 years cash essentially. 4 years cash. Cash is literally cash. That's liquid, has no downside risk. And then you can put the rest in the market if you want. But man, we're now getting 4.75 on the Fidelity government securities money market. I just literally talked to a guy on Saturday, 4.75 on SPAXX. Will it stay there forever? No, but it's there right now. And there's no thoughts that the Fed's going to cut anytime soon. I mean, they might. I don't think so, but they could. All right, so we have 4.5. Whip-de-flip and do. We haven't had this race my whole career. I'm like, back when I started in 1998, Ginnie Mae was paying 6%, and money markets back then were probably 4. I don't think we've had this kind of rate on short-term money in my whole career. It's crazy. Take advantage of it, man. And so you put, $200,000 in a money market. Yeah, you're going to be pissed off when the market goes up like it did on Friday. I don't care. We've got to protect the downside. The downside is a bigger fear than the upside. Missing on the upside that's a young man's game. Now we got to miss it. We cannot get hit on the downside.
Love it.
So $200,000, 150, whatever you feel comfortable with, but man, there's no excuse anymore for people to say, but I'm not making any money. Cash is trash. Okay, those days are over. That's not true anymore. Now it's, man, anyway. So that's what I do. I would say, okay, I'm going to hang up my boots, boss, here, whatever. I don't know when, maybe next year, but there's no reason you don't have to keep working. You can do whatever you want. And then in the interim, I got 2 years, if not 3 solid years of cash money sitting right there at a good rate. I can't guarantee it's going to be 4.7 for sure. I'm going to need that money to live on until Social Security kicks in. I have a little bit extra income from working part-time. Maybe it'll be a little bit more than 20,000. I don't know. Man, world's your oyster, man. The tax, look, just again, the tax man, nothing. My goodness. Look, this orange is just you working part-time, having FICA tax. Look at that. Your effective tax rate is below 10% for the rest of your life. I think that's even with you. I still think I have you dying at 85, by the way. So let's just go put you back at 90. Yeah, man. There's not a whole lot you need to be doing, Tim.
All right. Awesome.
Thoughts, comments, questions here? Anything jump at you? I'm missing what seems unreasonable or odd to you here? Anything?
No, not at all. This is why I love watching your videos and having you explain stuff, because you can show how the levers change.
Yeah.
I mean, this is fantastic. And you're not afraid to give your opinion, because the one thing I've noticed with like the few meetings I've had with my Fidelity guy is they will just sort of show you a little. They won't really give their opinions. I like your opinions, and they're well thought out. So I appreciate that part a ton.
Well, you built the house, man. You built the castle. It's certainly not built on sand. Just these 4 years, I just want to stress enough, these 4 years, we're going to need some money from someplace, and we'll have at least 2.5 years. Yeah, basically 2.5 years covered with cash. And then I just leave the rest in a 60-40 portfolio. I mean, literally, because we're getting paid on bonds now. It's crazy. So you got barbell, cash, 60-40, and target 20-30 funds. Great. And then you wake up and 66 rolls around. You're like, I need some money from someplace else. Well, we'll have to cross that bridge at that point. And then look at this. You only need 16,000 a year from your portfolio. That's it. And your portfolio will probably be worth well above 400,000. I don't know, but if it's worth 400,000, you're only taking 4% a year out. And by this time, you're in your late 60s. Anyway, don't hang up, Tim, because we're going to stop this real quick. Stop the recording, but I'll just we'll have some final thoughts. So don't hang up. Don't get off the thing here. I'm just going to end this recording here real quick. All right. So hang tight. Hang tight. Let me just figure out how to end this real quick. Oh, so real quick. So folks, look, man, Tim's still on, but don't hang up yet. But this is real financial planning. Tim's a real guy. I didn't know him. You know what I'm saying? But this is how it's done. I don't care if you do it through me or not. You do whatever you want. What I'm just saying is, at the end of the day, know your expenses and know the downside risk to your portfolio. If you don't know that stuff, you're freaking peeing in the wind, man. And we don't want to pee in the wind. We want to pee against the wind, or we want the wind at our back. That's what we want. If we're going to pee outside, which I like to, you gotta fertilize your plants. And if you have if you live in a big enough place, you can do that outside, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, you want to pee with the wind at your back. If you're peeing with the wind and if you're peeing in the wind, that means you have no clue what your expenses are, and you have no clue what the downside risk is. And I don't care what anybody says about upside. Upside is yesterday's news. If you're 62 years old and you're hanging up, upside is not our issue anymore. It's downside risk protection. All right. So hang tight, Tim. I'm going to stop the record here, if I can remember how to do that. Stop recording. Right there.